What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Showdown Breakdown. Where my turds at? Where we're taking a look at the Chargers at the Chiefs. 54-point game total. Chiefs, 4-point home favorites. Let's do this. All right, guys. I am Kevin Allen, aka the Geek from DFS Army, and I've got the man himself, the $1 million man, Bobby Millions, aka Bobbywow, with me, and we're taking a look at the Showdown Thursday Night Football. Chargers at the Chiefs. High-scoring game, Bobbywow. We've got a good one.
A lot of fun, a lot of options. We were talking before we hopped on here. There's a lot of different choices, and I'm excited about it, especially for tournaments. It's going to be a fun slate.
Absolutely. This is one of those ones. Both of these teams, the Chargers missing a wide receiver in Keenan Allen, most likely. That's interesting. Chargers also coming off a couple of dud games from some players that we were a little excited about. And, of course, the Chiefs absolutely dominated. Looked unstoppable on offense in week one. And this combination, man, the AFC West is awesome. But this combination has produced some high-scoring games, Bobbywow. So let's get right into this breakdown. And the first thing is we finally have our matchup sheet.
Let's go.
Now, I don't know if this is too small, so I kind of want to make it a little bigger so you guys can see it better. And we're going to go side by side here. Hopefully everybody can see this who is watching at home. And we're going to start on the Chiefs side. So we're going to get an idea of the usage from week one using the DFS Army matchups sheet, right? So let's start at the top. Obviously, Pat Mahomes is the man. Not much to say there. Last week, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Bobbywow, had a big game. But he had, he had the touchdowns, but he didn't actually get a ton of volume. As a matter of fact, he was really not on the field all that much at all. 40%. It was a pretty close split with Jerick McKinnon.
It was interesting because he was catching passes out of the backfield like McKinnon typically does. And then you had Isaiah Pacheco in the mix, who actually had more rushing attempts than McKinnon and CEH combined. It was an interesting day, as it always is for the Chiefs running backs.
Yeah, hard to trust any of them. Of course, Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming off the big game, but I take that with a bit of a grain of salt. I kind of think any one of these guys could pop, and that was a little bit of luck involved. Just right place, right time. Good GPP upside for Helaire. But Pacheco came in when it was a blowout. So that is something to bear in mind as well. Like, it's hard to, I think Helaire is the guy, but the Chiefs can change it up. Anytime Helaire is going to be low owned, we have to keep an eye on him. And we'll take a look at his ownership as we get to the ownerships. And Jerick McKinnon is an interesting super punt every slate. Now, more exciting and interesting is the wide receiver usage. I think a lot of us just weren't sure what they were going to do. So it was a pretty even split here between Smith-Schuster, Scantling, and Hardman the first time out, with Sky Moore kind of being the odd man out, got a couple snaps, 18% snap count. But all three of Hardman, MVS, and Juju were over 50%, and Martez Valdez-Scantling coming in at the highest at 72%. So those are your guys, Juju and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, with Hardman sort of bringing up the rear. Sky Moore got one reception, blew up my Sky Moore under 22 yards prop bet.
Brutal.
One of the very few prop bets that I didn't win last weekend. One catch, of course, he blew me up. Rounding it out, of course, is Travis Kelce, who absolutely smashed last week. He had a 23% target share, which in this offense is spectacular. So when you look at the target shares, Kelce 23%, Juju 20%. So Juju kind of was the de facto number one, with Hardman and Valdez-Scantling sort of mixing it up there a little bit less. And I think that will continue here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we were wondering about that all week, and it was interesting. It was kind of the same for all three of them. And it's going to be a big choice going into this slate because you've got a couple boomer bust guys in there, and we're going to have options to choose from, and these guys are all in the mix.
Yeah, it's a fun slate where you don't have to make the same lineup every single time over and over again, because I think Valdez-Scantling and Mecole Hardman are almost interchangeable in my mind. I think Juju is slightly better as far as if I'm choosing between these Chiefs wide receivers. Kelce, somebody you want to try to squeeze in your lineup, but he's the same price as the quarterback, so buyer beware. You got to make a really difficult decision there when you're trying to decide between Kelce and Herbert. So that should be really interesting. And these Turdley tight ends got a couple targets. I mean, Noah Gray, I hate to say it, but I mean, he could sneak up on you and get and score. Ugh. Could do it. All right, let's shift over to the Chargers side of the ball here. And, Austin Eckler coming off of a bit of a disappointing, fantasy performance, but we know who Austin Eckler is and we know what he'd do. So he had about a 50% snap count, and then they mixed in Josh Kelly and Sony Michel as your sort of grinder types in there. Nothing really exciting to see. It looked like Sony Michel was playing a little bit ahead of Joshua Kelly week 1. We'll see if that holds true. Yeah, I'm seeing some discrepancies in the data here. Unless this if this is true, this is crazy. All these people got the same number of targets. That doesn't make sense. So I'm seeing a little discrepancy in the data.
I think that's right, Geek.
Is it?
That's true. A lot of similar targets. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Now I have to double check it. But Mike Williams on the field the whole time. Obviously last week, Keenan Allen gets hurt. Joshua Palmer comes in, but nobody really smashes from the wide receiver. They are spreading the football around. I do want to take a look at this, and wow, that'd be nuts. They all got like 3 targets, I guess. But
I think they all had 4 targets. Is
that what happened? Okay, I'm like, wait, this data looks wrong. I guess it's right. So Palmer seems to be the guy that would step in here and maybe get a few extra looks with Keenan Allen out, especially game plan to him. I mean, do you kind of think that's what happens?
I think so, and I think the field thinks so as well. Palmer was a guy that stepped up last week. The interesting thing to me is DeAndre Carter is a really fascinating pivot in tournaments. He was actually the guy that outplayed Palmer last week, and I think he'll get a small bump too. So Palmer's cheap. He's a great play. Like you said, he's going to get a bunch of snaps, but Carter's the guy that I'm going to be looking to pivot to as well.
Yeah, I think Carter will be much less popular. Yeah, they really did all have 4. I was like, hey, the data seems off. This can't be right. But there it is. That's right. So, Jalen Guyton. What about Jalen Guyton? He was the starter last year at that WR3 position. Now you've got Palmer and Carter. Is Jalen Guyton the forgotten man?
I don't know that he's forgotten. To me, he's more of a punt play just because they're all not crazy different in pricing. And we know for a fact Palmer and Carter are going to contribute. They're going to have usage. And to me, Guyton's just one of those MME dart throws, punt plays.
Super turd.
Yeah, super turd. But there's some super turds we'll get to. But
he's even all right. So at the tight end position, Gerald Everett, Trey McKitty, both again equal snaps and equal targets. So that's not making life very easy at all for anybody. Try to figure out what's going on between these two. I do think. I mean, quite honestly, the snap counts are the same. The targets are the same as everybody else. It's just plug and play. I think you just play the cheapest ones because if they're all going to be 60% for targets, might as well just go with the cheap ones.
Makes sense to me.
Play the studs on the Chiefs and just play the cheapest, 12.5% guys. This is pretty weird, but I think Gerald Everett is the preferable play.
Absolutely.
He's also more expensive. He's also a little more expensive. So with that being said, we are about to get to the cheat sheet. But before we do, I want to mention the sponsor of this video, No House Advantage. And it's nice that they sponsored this one because No House Advantage has a Thursday night football contest. And I got to show it. I like this site. It's a prop site. You're going to pick a bunch of over-unders. But what I really love about it is, Bobbywow, look at this overlay. 82 entries out of 16. They're giving away free money.
So beautiful.
This won't come anywhere. You won't need to be anywhere near perfect. I think everybody's going to cash in this. It's $15 to enter. And basically, it's a prop game. So they have an innovation that I'll mention in a minute, but you pick your favorite prop. So I'm going to show you a prop that I like. So for example, Justin Herbert under 2.5 passing touchdowns. I'm going to show you where I got it from. And basically the way I pick a prop is pretty simple. I go to the DFS Army research station. I've got this all blown up right now, and it's difficult to see because for camera purposes, but I go to the DFS Army research station and I look at the player. So here we've got Justin Herbert, and I just scroll over to our projected totals for that player, the week's projections, right? And we've got him projected for 2 passing touchdowns. So if I can get a 50-50 prop on under 2.5, I think I got better than 50% chances of that happening. The innovation that these guys do is it's a giant tournament versus they have the against the house props. So you could just play this against the house, similar to other prop sites. Very cool. They allow you to do up to, I think, 10 for a 20x return, which is nice against the house. But in this tournament, which is what interests me the most, A, there's going to be tons of overlay, and B, you put your favorite prop in a row and you get a number of points. So if you're right on this one, you get 7 points. The next one is 6 points. So it's a sliding scale down in terms of how much each prop is worth. You're going to go through, pick them out, whichever, like Clyde and Solaire might do the over there. So I'd actually probably really like that one up top, but you get the idea. You pick 7 props. They each have a points target. And if you score the most points, you win this tournament. It's very winnable. And honestly, there's only 82 people in it right now. By tomorrow, my guess will be 500-600 out of 1,600. It's going to be a lot of free money in this. So get on these deals while you can. If you're signing up, if you never signed up there, promo code ARMY gets a deposit match included when you sign up. So check out nohouseadvantage.com and sign up with promo code ARMY and take advantage of all the overlay. All right. Bobbywow. Cheat sheet time. Let's talk DraftKings captain position. And let's start at the top, Bobbywow. You got Pat Mahomes up top there. Breaking news, Pat Mahomes is still good. Shocker. He looked amazing last week.
No Tyreek, no problem, right?
Doesn't matter. Unlike Baker Mayfield, who sucks the talent out of all players around him, Pat Mahomes elevates players around.
Do you hate Baker more than any quarterback in the league?
I do. Ever since, because I hate the fact that when players leave his purgatory, they become good again. That's the issue. I'm like, it's mostly I'm mad at Baker because I hated Odell Beckham for a few years, thinking I was just fooled into thinking this guy was good. But then it turned out it wasn't him. It was Baker. And so he fooled me. Basically, he fooled me, and now I'm mad about it. Like, I'm upset. I'm more upset. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
That's the worst, man. Never want to hear anyone say that to you.
Just disappointed in Baker. So Pat Mahomes still good. I think it's a pretty obvious captain play. Stack him with one of his guys at least, I would say.
I've got Kelsey, Juju, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling in there. So I said try and stack him with 2 at captain, but at least one of those 3 guys. Feels like those 3 are the primary pass catchers.
Yeah, I don't even know if you need to force 2 in this scenario because he spreads the football around to a level where there is a pretty good possibility that you don't need 2 or that a nuts lineup wouldn't absolutely have to have 2. I'm a big fan of QB with 2 at the captain in the showdowns, but I don't think it's like an absolute definite must, but definitely at least with 1.
That's true. Definitely
Justin
harder
Herbert,
with him.
Pretty much the same play. Spread the football around insane last week to the point where none of his pass catchers had a good game, but he had a good game. I don't know. Did he have a good game?
He did. He was solid, really efficient. 3 touchdowns, 280 yards.
But not one pass catcher really was anybody that you were excited to have rostered. So he could spread that football around.
Including a super turd that we'll talk about.
There we go. All right. So Travis Kelce smashed last week. He's almost the same price as Mahomes and Herbert that makes it scary, but he certainly has 30+ point upside. He could be the guy. I think your favorite guy here, the 5-star play, we'll mention him, Austin Eckler. So talk to me about Austin Eckler and why you like him so much.
I think a couple of reasons. One, it's a really juicy matchup in itself, so that's exciting. I love playing players like Eckler after dud weeks. His performance last week was bad. It was really, really bad. And so, that in conjunction with the spot and also his price. I mean, look at that DK price. He's less expensive than he typically is in these showdown slates on DK. So, man, I am all in on the Eckler spot. And to me, Eckler also gives me reason to come off of Herbert a little bit because you're going to have to make some tough choices up top. So I like running with the narrative that Eckler kind of takes over this game, both as a pass catcher and on the ground. Maybe vultures a touchdown or two from Herbert, and he is my core play for Thursday.
I love it. Listen, one of the best DFS narratives that you're ever going to do is just the stud coming off a dud. I mean, it's got to rhyme. If you've got a rhyme about something, it's probably good.
Got to be good.
Stud off a dud, right? That's what Eckler is. He had a dud. Everybody's pissed. Now he's only going to be 30% owned. Now, in fairness, part of that low ownership is just he's hanging in the stud zone. Like, there's a lot of high scoring. There's no chance that, Mahomes doesn't score 20 plus or Herbert doesn't hit that 20-pointer. So Austin has some high competition in his salary zone. But, hey, that's why we play the game, right? And if he has one of his special games, you're right. It's going to be at the expense of probably Herbert. So that's the guy that you want to potentially leave out of that lineup. Mike Williams, another guy. We know he could pop for 30 plus anytime. It's not going to happen when they only throw it to him 4 times and they spread the football, but he could pop he had games last year, 38 point, 35. He can do that. No Keenan Allen. Let's look at the ownership numbers. About the same as everybody else. These ownership numbers are so milquetoast. Well, everybody's 8% captain, 30% flex. Like, they're all good. This is weird.
Look at that price on Mike Williams. That's cheap.
$9K is reasonable for a guy who has his ceiling is probably bigger than Juju or any of the.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's higher than the Chiefs wide receivers. As much as I love the Chiefs offense, they're not going to. Maybe Kelsey. He's right up there with Kelsey with that ceiling.
We've seen him outscore everybody on a showdown slate before. So like you always say, his ceiling's there. The floor is pretty low, but the ceiling, especially considering the price, is definitely there.
I feel like Herbert and Mahomes in the same lineup is more of a cash game approach. I think it's going to be hard to fit them both, especially if one is the captain and then have any other good players in the lineup. That's going to be a challenge on the slate. It's not easy when there's studs all over the place, because you have to forego some of them. There's no way to put it all together any other way. All right, MVS and Juju captains.
Maybe worth a punt if you're running out 150 lineups. Juju doesn't quite have the ceiling that gets me excited. He's solid. I like him as a cash play. MVS is boom or bust. We've seen him pop off before, but again, low floor guy. I wouldn't have more than a couple shares in MME.
Yeah, you like Palmer a little bit. I get that. That's a salary saver.
Yep.
We know a wide receiver like a Palmer can on DraftKings can hit 100 yards a touchdown. All of a sudden he's at 22 fantasy points, 23, and you're like, wow, nuts play. Who would have thought it? The one guy that you don't mention here that I'm going to throw in there is Clyde Edwards-Helaire as well. It's hard to like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but again, a lot of that. I mean, even looking at the matchup sheet, and of course, Kanger in the comments. Reminding us that Pacheco came in garbage time. If that game would have continued the way it was, we would have probably got a full. We probably see that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the top running back option for the Chiefs right now. And you got to play the top running back, especially he's cheap.
That's a good point. It's worth bringing up. It's just I am having flashbacks of the Derek Gore of last year where we thought that was the case, and then all of a sudden 3 weeks later he's still getting a bunch of carries. So that's the concern for me with CEH. But no, you're right on.
You know what's going on with CEH and me, right? So yeah, that happened. we also watched the playoffs last year where Jerick McKinnon took over and was the guy. And you're like, what happened? But then it came out that Clyde Edwards-Helaire had some sort of an injury. There was an issue. There was something going on there. So I am smoking the Clyde Edwards-Helaire hopium. I hope that he's my guy. That's right. Oh,
Hopium.
Oh, it's so good. It feels good. It feels really good.
Oh my gosh.
I'm smoking the hopium.
You have to play him after that. Jeez.
All right. I don't even know where to go from there.
What the heck was that?
Hopium.
Oh, it's so good.
What in the heck? Oh, that's fantastic.
All right. Anyway, flex positions. This is where we're going to find our turds. So we talked about a lot of the top plays. You know what? Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not that cheap at 8,600.
No, he's expensive. That was the other
very
thing.
Expensive. That's turned me off expensive. Like, what the fuck? They have him almost the same price as Eckler. Yeah, that's rough to play. That is GPP only. All right, I'm not playing in my cash lineup.
Gosh, that hopium faded so fast.
The hopium's going away. It's not. It's actually it's Hopi crack where it goes away really quickly and you just want more. I don't know. I have no idea how these. All right, forget what I'm saying. Pacheco, I don't like. He's only going to be in there. Pacheco's, he's only going to be in there if there's a blowout or injury. We got to talk about lead running back injury. That's your Pacheco play. So if you're playing Pacheco, you really got to fade the hopium with Clyde Edwards-Helaire for sure. You can't play Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the same lineup is what I'm saying. I think Pacheco is really a primary running back gets injured play. I don't know what you have in your notes here, but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I mean, the other piece is just the ownership. He's more expensive than he should be, so the ownership is attractive. But I mentioned in the notes too, the 3-headed running attack with the Chiefs. You just never know what to expect.
Yeah, or it could just be the one guy. It could just be that they focus the one guy. So we don't know. It's definitely a mysterious situation again with that blowout, maybe skewing some thoughts that we would have. Would we stack Herbert with Palmer? Definitely. I mean,
Absolutely.
You're definitely. So a couple of rules that you want to set for yourself that I'm doing now. If you have Herbert in your lineup, force one of his pass catchers in the lineup, even in the flex. So if Herbert's in there, you got to have one of his pass catchers. It's that simple. I would include Eckler in that list, but you got to have one of them. Same thing with Mahomes. If he's in the lineup, get one pass catcher. Don't force two. Get one. And yeah, that's part of the reason we like Palmer, but everybody likes Palmer for this reason because Josh Allen's. I think the guy who really potentially gets the most help, though, Mike Williams has the potential to break the slate if they focus on throwing to him. So he's my guy. You know how your guy is going to be Eckler. I think it's Mike Williams that has the bounce back game. It could be Eckler for me. Yeah. Like one of those two could really, really do it. So let's go to the turd zone. Sony Michel got some carries. It wouldn't blow my mind if he got a touchdown at 3K. But here's my issue with that. Even if he scores a touchdown, is he going to pass these two kickers? So anytime you're hanging out in the kicker salary zone on both DraftKings and FanDuel, you really have to look at the kicker, assume the kicker is going to score 9, and then think about, are these players really capable or likely to outscore the kicker, right? So that's what I think when I look at Eckler, at McKinnon, at Sky Moore, at Kelly, at all of these turds, right? These guys are turds.
And I know you throw it out for showdowns, but I feel like Sony Michel is the opposite of hopium. Has he ever exceeded expectations for DFS? Maybe once in his whole life.
When I back tested last season, there was a Sony Michel week where he was the starter and he paid off with 20 fantasy points.
And then he was like 50% on the next week and got like 4 points.
Yeah, and then he disappointed. Right. And that was, 20 in the most perfect situation, and there was no backup running back. In this case, he's splitting with Josh Kelly, and
He's
I
third
don't
on the
like
depth
it, is
chart.
what I'm saying. I
Yep,
don't
yep.
like it. Even if he gets a touchdown, my issue is a miracle happens. He scores the touchdown, and you still don't win because that wasn't enough to even put him in the nuts. That's the problem for me. He gets 6 points for the touchdown, and you're like, so what? 3K, 6 points, not enough.
And I think you and I would both agree, Jerick McKinnon is the better punt in this
Yes.
price range.
Jerick McKinnon can pop for 14. He's got that pop ability because they're going to throw to him a little bit. So, yeah, if I have to punt down here, it's Jerick McKinnon. Sky Moore not heavily involved last week. That could change one pass. He is a tart throw at best. It looks like there's a lot of turds here, but in reality, a lot of these guys are just not really viable plays. At least they're cheaper. So you get down to this turd zone, and you're like, hey, Trey McKitty I think he had 4 touches. That's the place I would go, right? Am I missing something? Wasn't he on our 4 touches?
He had 4 targets.
Yeah, that's the guy. He had 4 targets on the field for 60% of the snaps. I'm gonna ask you to take your turd away. That is not a turd.
Oh my.
I would like to replace that turd with a star.
A star, not even a dart. Wow.
No, I think it's real. Listen, the guy was on the field 60% of the touches. He's $400. So he has legitimate ability to get 1 touchdown or 7 fantasy or 5 fantasy points and be in the nuts lineup where Sony Michel scores the touchdown at 3K. Didn't help you.
Yeah.
Kicker
And
outscores him.
I put it on there. He's my favorite turd. No longer a turd, believe it or not.
We take the turd away. He's no longer a turd.
That's some
He's
Trey
elevated.
McKitty hopium,
Have
if
we
I've
ever-
ever heard it before.
Have we ever elevated a player out of the turd?
Hopium.
Oh, so good. It's good. It's really good stuff.
That was worthy.
Have we ever elevated a turd?
No.
No, this is the first time ever on the history of the Showdown breakdown that we are elevating a turd. We are removing him from the turd zone. 60% of the time he was on the field. Same target share as Mike Williams in week 1. Same target share as Austin. He's basically Austin Eckler for cheaper. So I'm going for it. I like Trey McKitty.
Don't go too crazy on Trey McKitty, but he is the best punt. I mean,
Yeah.
look at his price, $400.
400. Do I want to play him at captain? No. But I like him in the flex.
Jeebus.
This is, you know what? It's a lot of studs. Let's just, I just want to show, there's a lot of studs on the slate. So when you put a 400 in the flex, I can afford to do some things, some people, I got Mike Williams. We play one of our not exactly the most expensive guys at captain. And now I can afford to do some things.
Heck, you throw Palmer in there or Carter, you could do
Wow.
a number of things.
Even with that, by the way, look how rough the salaries are. Even with that, I'll only be able to fit Mahomes and either Kelsey, Eckler, or Herbert. Like, there's no way to build any lineup with more than 2 studs.
But now you got Palmer and Carter. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good. It's fine. This is fine. But, like, you had to put McKitty in there to make it work. It is going to be difficult. Like, all I'm going to tell the people, I am a man of the people. What I'm going to tell the people is don't feel bad if your lineup doesn't have Mahomes or Herbert in it or Kelsey in it, because no one's getting all 3. And most people can't fit both, even 2 of them. Most people, 60% usage. Camel's got Jody Fortson as a turd. So
Sweet Lord.
That's interesting. All right, let's talk a little bit of FanDuel, or what I like to call the Golden Duel. And I'm going to pop over to your cheat sheet. Bobby, I started making lineups for FanDuel last night, and basically I was like, all right, what can I do with Mahomes and Herbert in it? And there's only a few combinations, but I hadn't thought of the Trey McKitty cheat code. So now I want to see what I can do with cheat code in there. He's got to be like Trey McKitty's got to be like 5K on FanDuel. But let's take a look at your cheat sheet
Cheat code.
how You know what I mean? Like I was making lineups last night and I was like, all right, this is as cheap as I can go. There are some reasonable lineups you can make. Wait, how much is McKitty on this?
The Golden God.
The Golden
He's
Duel.
6K.
6K. Okay. Get me a touchdown. I win the tournament.
Man, it's
Turd
tough
later.
with McKinnon at 6,500. I think Palmer and Carter are like in the 7K range. There's some cheap pieces here.
Absolutely. Now, before I get into too much FanDuel, I want to remind everybody that DFS Army took down the DraftKings Millie Maker NFL Week 1. I replicated it in a video that you could check out on this channel. So make sure that you are subscribed, your notification buttons, all of that. I did a back test on Monday. We did a review just to see how that lineup popped up. The projections were on point, but I never take away anything from the Millie Maker winner, Rapid Fire XD. My man crushed it. That is all him. But it was really, really not very difficult to replicate that lineup in the backtest mode. So make sure that you've watched our backtest, understand the settings for the Dom station. And if you're watching this or you're not signed up for DFS Army, come check it out. We are a place where average Joes compete on a level playing field with the pros. There's no place like it. Our Discord is hopping. Really, really loved being in the Discord, rooting on that Millie Maker win. It was awesome. People were like, I don't give a shit about my lineups. I want him to win. It was great. I loved watching it. And yeah, go check out DFS Army. We are doing a special based off of that Millie Maker win. We extended our season opener promo. So it's NFL 2022 and it takes 20% off your monthly dues for VIP. You want to check it out. So with that being said, Bobbywow, are you feeling bad that there's another millionaire?
No, man. Oh my gosh.
Is that like, is it like
so
when
awesome?
Is it like when, when like Drew Brees is sitting in the stands or like Brett Favre is in the stands when Drew Brees is breaking the record and Favre is sitting there like, okay. You don't ever see that? Or it's like whenever a quarterback is about to break a record, the other quarterback shows up in the stands and just kind of is there. He goes for like next 3 games. He's like, I'm going in there. Sit there, give him the thumbs up. Like, no, it's good. I love it.
Nothing like that. No, I was cheering him on like I cheer my kids on.
You're the only one.
It was awesome.
2. You've won 2.
Doesn't matter. But just to your point real quick too, the winning's awesome. There's a lot of it. The DS, all the tools are awesome. The camaraderie, though, is next level in the Discord. I would not trade it for the world. So yeah. Couldn't agree more. It's the best place to be.
Yeah, same here. Friendships are formed. All right. So we are taking a look at the FanDuel captain MVP spot. And for me, yeah, I'm with you. I agree with what you've got going on here. There aren't FanDuel different for, again, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Running back. Include him with 1 star. But beyond that, I think Mahomes and Herbert are the most obvious plays on FanDuel. It's really hard to outscore quarterbacks on the FanDuel scoring system, unless it's a running back like Austin Eckler, who you love. So give me your breakdown of how you're working the MVP spot on FanDuel.
Geek, I think for me, this is a spot where I am, again, tournament play, but I'm fading Mahomes and Herbert in the captain spot.
Wow.
I'm probably in the 60 to 70% range on Eckler.
Oh,
that's where I'm at. Again, trying to take down the tournament. That's the strategy.
What would Bobbywow do? That's what he would do. Now, that is a dangerous approach. But let's look at some of these ownerships. And I think they tend to go even higher than this by the time the tournament comes around. But
absolutely,
it's probably more like 25% Mahomes, maybe 22% Herbert. What we'll end up with?
You're talking almost half the field.
Yeah, almost half the field will be on Mahomes and Herbert. I definitely think so. So, I mean, if you're going very heavy on Eckler, you have a great chance of finding the right mix. They set it up in a weird way where, again, Herbert priced so close to Kelsey and Eckler. It's tough. It's really tough for those guys to outscore him. But if they do, every projection model will push Herbert in there ahead of Mahomes, Kelsey, and Eckler. So it's just like do something that all the optimizer people aren't doing, and you're just going to face much lower competition. I think it's extremely difficult for a Mike Williams to get there because essentially Herbert has to throw everything his way. So I don't mind it again as a as a 2-star, but I love your concept of Austin. I'm not recommending, by the way, for you guys who are watching, I would not recommend necessarily doing that, but pick who you love maybe and just go heavier exposure on that person. Take a shot. I like doing that much more on DraftKings where the payoff is often bigger. FanDuel's got their weird showdown situation where you always tie with a bunch of people. But
and on that note, Geek, one of the questions that we always hear is, what sort of captain exposure caps do you like to set? And I think you hit on a really good point. It's far less about specific exposures to me than it is about leverage. If you think Mahomes is going to be the guy, awesome, play him. But get leverage, play him 2x. Try and have him in the 40% range instead of the 20%.
Yeah, just go all in.
It's all about the leverage.
People don't understand that how important the leverage is. Let's say you're going up against other people who are running 150, right? And everybody's putting 20% Mahomes. There's like a certain set of combinations that's going to create based on similar, at least somewhat similar projection models and similar approaches. So when you go above the field, you start hitting weird combinations, especially in the showdowns. There's not that many players that other people aren't hitting. That's where you get Trey McKitty in a lineup. What? Fucking nuts. Hopium. Right? That's where you get those weird combinations that you take it down. Couple questions answered. How often does the turd zone matter? Not every week. But frequently. Depends how deep is the turd, right? Like Isaiah McKenzie, is that a turd? No, that was like just a low cost player. It's much rarer to get like these guys with the actual turds. I don't know, 1 in 5 that somebody like 1 in 10 that somebody like this comes through.
Yeah, and I think the slate lends itself to the turd, right? So this slate, there's some really, really elite options, especially on DraftKings. So if you want to fit them in, the best way to fit the most of them in is to play a turd. So I think this is one of the slates that it's worth considering playing a turd for sure.
Yeah, because there's so many high-end studs that you're trying to fit in your lineups. So yeah, that I would agree with that. All right, so let's take a quick look at the a couple of details on FanDuel. If I'm playing Mahomes or Herbert as my captain, you have to make sure that these guys are stacked at least with 1. I don't mind stacked with 2, but I tend to want to keep my stacks chill. So probably stack with 1 for Mahomes, stack with 1 pass catcher for Herbert. Travis Kelce, am I forcing him with Mahomes? I don't think so. No forced stack because Mahomes is so expensive that, if I had to say one guy that could score the most on the slate, but still actually not be in the nuts lineup, that could be Pat Mahomes. Like there is a sliver of a path where just the 17K, even if he scores 1 or 2 fantasy points above, Kelce or Eckler or Herbert, because he costs so much more, that prevented you from having a perfect lineup. Going through these other players, I definitely want some Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I know I hate that I had to mention him so many times already, but I want some Clyde Edwards-Helaire exposure at 12K. Mike Williams, touchdown scorer. We want touchdowns on FanDuel. All of these guys are really in play. Juju, Scantling. Where's Palmer? 7K. Hardman, 7,500. I wound up with, so a lot of the lineups I built, I try to get these 2 guys in there just to kind of see how many combinations I could find with Mahomes and Herbert.
Yep.
And you pretty much find yourself very quickly having to go down to Hardman, Palmer, or somebody even more turdly. Like I didn't really think of any of these guys were worthy, but certainly any one of these guys has a chance to score a touchdown. McKinnon, Sony Michel, any of them really. Even Noah Gray could get a touchdown.
Xander Horvath. I mean, that's the coolest name I've ever heard. Number 1, he caught 2 passes and scored a touchdown last week.
Yeah. Any one of these guys. This is why it's so nuts. If you're trying to take down the million, you probably need to mix even this trash into your lineup just a little bit. Now, you can say, oh, you guys are stupid. You tell me to play fucking Xander Horvath, and he didn't even play in the game. Yeah, that's how it goes. Like you're trying to win $1 million. The couple things we always talk about on this breakdown. Number one, play the backup running backs at least a little bit, especially one that could take over a game if things go their way. Could be Isaiah Pacheco. It's not definitely taking over the game though. It could just go to Jerick McKinnon. So I don't know. It's a tough one. Sony Michel. We want to play anybody on FanDuel who could score a touchdown. That usually means backup tight ends. The backup tight ends are the best turds. I'd rather have a backup tight end, Bobbywow, than like a WR5.
Geek, it happens like once a weekend with these dang tight ends.
Yeah. Again, you just said it. Xander Horvath. How about last night? Remember, DFS up north was pumping this dude Buck, and then he's going nuts in the game. Like, what? Where the hell did he come? Andrew Buck, I think was the name. He almost made the turd spinner.
He did. He was close.
He almost made the spinner. So, yeah, you got to mix these guys in. There were 4 tight ends in the Sunday night game that were being used. 4. I can't even remember. I was like, what? Who? What? And again, and another target. They were just, that was crazy. So anyone can, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that's how you win the $1 million, guys. You're not going to really win it by building a lineup that looks like everybody else's lineup. That's definitely not winning on FanDuel. Massive amounts of ties. It's not even worth building lineups like that, because when you finally win, and I've won the FanDuel tournaments many, many times. First place. And I'd say about half the time, I don't even make money on the slate if I maxed it out, even with the win, because the tie is so massive. So if you're building chalky lineups, you're just not making money. It's not plus EV. It's better to avoid that and just build these crazy lineups and try to win one of these once in a while without tying with a million other people. Any other thoughts on this slate, Bobbywow?
You mentioned him briefly. I think Sky Moore is worth another mention. He's extremely cheap. He's going to be, 1, 2, 3% owned. And he's a guy that at some point is going to be a part of the Chiefs wide receiving core. Super talented, young, and big play potential. So, one of these weeks he's gonna break out. I don't know that it's this week, but he's worth a couple shots at his price and ownership.
I'm going to throw in that if I need to play a defense, I'm going to lean Chiefs defense.
Why is that?
They're at home, and Chiefs offense just looked unstoppable. So I don't see where the Chargers are scoring with their defense to make it worth even using them. Of course, listen, anything can happen. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, probably 50-50 that he fumbles one, especially after I mentioned his name so many times, that he fumbles one. It gets returned for a touchdown. Then he gets benched.
And he will.
That's so happening. So, it could happen. But again, I don't really think, after Mahomes gets done doing his work, all those points for the defense are going to go away, because no matter what, the Chiefs are walking away with 25 plus points in this game. And so I just don't love the defenses. If I had to play one, I'll play the Chiefs. Are you playing the Chiefs at all? Are you interested in the defense here? It's loud in Arrowhead.
I'm not interested. No, I'm willing to take the chance the defense isn't in it. They're not in it often. This is another week where it's just tough to make a case. So I'm not taking either defense. One thing I wanted to ask you though, Harrison Butker's out for the Chiefs. Kickers are usually a pretty good source of value. Do you have any interest in playing Matt Amendola in Butker's place, or are you strictly sticking with Dustin Hopkins?
First of all, unless I can refresh this, I'm not seeing where Amendola is available on FanDuel, right? Unless they added him.
I'm pretty sure they added him on both sites. But you have interest in Amendola? He's struggled, to say the least.
I'm not excited about Amendola. I think. But if you're on the Chiefs and you're kicking, could he come out and kick 4 field goals in a game? Sure. Like, you've got to play those guys. But I think that the kicker for the Chargers is the better play. Again, because the Chiefs will probably finish their drives and score touchdowns. No, Amendola's not out. Butker's out. Amendola is in, from what we understand.
I think it's a double M. That might be why he's not showing up.
Oh, is that what it is? I can't spell his name. Oh, or that. So he's 9,500. So they just slid him in to Butker's spot. They didn't even reduce the price. I would have rather seen like a nice little discount on this kicker, but I think I think kickers are just interchangeable. It affects me not at all. Nothing.
So if you have to make a decision, you're either going to play one kicker or one defense. What are you playing?
Kicker, definitely.
Okay.
I'd much rather play either of these kickers over either of the defenses.
Yep.
No question. So yeah, they plugged Amendola in exactly at the price they had Butker. So Butker's an actual elite kicker, where Amendola is the guy that the Jets cut.
Which is bad.
You don't want to be the guy that the Jets cut for any reason. Like, this guy was on the Jets. Goodness. All right. Anyway, that's going to do it for the Showdown breakdown. Exciting game, high scoring. We smoked a little hopium.
That we did.
Got to come down. Any final thoughts, Bobbywow?
I love Eckler. Mix Eckler in as much as you can. I think he's going to have a big game. But just have fun with this slate. There's options. Get a little silly. Make sure you have exposure to some of these turds, especially McKitty, that Geek elevated. And
that's what I was going to say. My final word was going to be Trey McKitty elevated from the turd zone into the dart zone.
I love it. And don't sleep on Sky Moore either.
There we go. All right. Sky Moore burned me on my prop. All right. That'll do it for this one, guys. Bobby will be back with me and Bob. Josiah. Me and Josiah go back like babies and pacifiers. Bob, Josiah, Bobby, me. Tournament tactics on Friday on this channel. We're going to go through the main slate, all the GPP approaches. We're going to think next level. They're all playing checkers. We're going to be playing chess.
I can't wait.
On Friday. That's how we're going to do it. So we'll see you guys then. Again, make sure you like, subscribe. And I've got a fun idea for those of you watching, especially on the replay. Drop your favorite turd on the slate in the comments section. You know what? If your turd, I'm going to pick whoever gets the right turd. I'm going to pick that person. I'm going to give them a free month of Sharp app.
Let's go.
All right. Put your favorite turd. Do it on the replay, because the live stream, I don't see those comments. But put it on, they don't save. But if you're watching this on the replay, put your favorite turd in the comment section. If your favorite turd is the turd of the slate, we got to keep doing this every time, Bobbywow.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's do this every time. So your favorite turd on the slate, put it in there, and we'll have a little prize. We'll have a little free month of Sharp app for whoever gets the turd right. Drop it in the comments, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see you guys back here on Friday. Same bat station, same bat time for tournament tactics. For Bobbywow, for myself, we'll see you guys next time. Deuces.